So just start seated tonight. So perhaps you draw yourself into a cross-legged position. If you really prefer and don't like sitting cross-legged and find it too challenging onto your hips, you can always sit perhaps onto your heels or perhaps with your bottom in between your feet with your heels out to the side of the hips. Another useful prop, if you've got one, is to use a block and sit onto the block and then just allow to sit forward, and you allow the hips to roll down and forward and the knees just to come out to the side. So we're just starting to seated because we're just trying to ground ourselves, bring our attention into our breath, into our bodies, and just perhaps still and calm the mind. If you release the sit bones down onto the mat, just draw and lengthen through the spine, allowing the knees just to roll out to the side. Rolling forward the sit bones slightly, just releasing the tailbone back and away. Stacking up through the vertebrae. So you're trying to create the perfect alignment for the breath. Just stacking up each vertebrae, visualizing them like building blocks. Just gently drawing up through the lumbar spine, up through the thoracic spine. And then as you start to reach into the cervical spine, just draw the shoulders up towards the ears and then gently roll the shoulder blades down towards the waist. So you're just sliding the bones down the back ribs. Just opening up through the front of the chest. Tucking the chin under slightly. Just lengthen out through the crown of the head. Start to bring your awareness onto your breath. Taking a nice deep inhale in, just draw the air down the back of the spine, just visualizing it touching each vertebrae as it releases all the way down towards the tailbone. And then as you exhale, just visualize drawing the air up the midline of the body. So you're circulating the air around, just drawing it up. Expanding through the chest, and then largely exhaling through the nose, bring the crown of the head up towards the sky. So just using this visualization, circulating the breath around the body, bring some stillness and quietness out through the mind. Just trying to detach from your thoughts, to create this own special time for yourself. Just visualizing your thoughts are like little fires. If you stoke those fires, small problems become big problems. Things can get out of proportion. Try not to interact or stoke your fire. Allow it just peter out. Just watch yourself or observe yourself breathing. Okay, now slowly let's start to blink the eyes open. Draw the hands into our heart center. So just stretching out through the arms. Let's just inhale, lift the hands up towards the ceiling. Just interlace the fingers overhead. Just turn the palms away. Start to draw the triceps back by the ears. So see if you can lift it and lengthen all the way up to the sky, ground down through the sit bones. And then as we exhale, release the hands down towards shoulder height. Now just turn the palms to face you, just round the spine and tuck the head. And slowly drawing the gaze back to center, roll forward the sit bones, and then let's just release the hands behind the back. Just interlace the fingers, open up through the front of the chest, gaze up towards the sky. And then as we exhale, let's just release the chest down towards the mat, raise the arms up towards the ceiling. See if you can lengthen out through the elbows. The palms don't need to meet, but the sit bones still engaged down onto the mat. Inhaling, drawing that all the way back up. Just releasing the hands. Perhaps now you release the shoulders and just give them a little roll. So it's just a gentle ease up through the shoulders. Now taking the hands behind the bottom, press down through the hands. Either inhale, just lift the chest up, or perhaps you press down through the hands, lift up onto the knees, open the heart up towards the sky. If the neck's okay, allow the gaze to drop backwards. And gently drawing that back and releasing it all the way back to seated. Bringing the hands out in front of you, let's start to draw that all the way up into all fours. Just mobilizing through the spine, inhaling, gazing up towards the ceiling. Exhaling, just around the spine and tuck the head. Now slowly drawing that back to a neutral spine, let's just lengthen the right leg away. Tuck the right toes, push out through the right heel, lengthen out, perhaps you stretch out through the calf. Just push back towards that right heel, feel the stretch go down the back of that right leg. Then drawing the right knee in towards the forehead, just see if you can touch it onto the nose. Exhale, now lengthen the right leg away, flex the right foot. Inhale, draw it into the chest. Exhaling, lengthen that away. Perhaps release the left hand, left palm facing down. Or perhaps you bring the hand and foot to meet. Press the top of the foot into the hand, arch the spine, take the gaze forward. Now slowly releasing that all the way back down. Let's release the right knee down. Inhaling, gazing forward, dip the spine down, tip the tailbone up. Exhale, let's just round through the spine. Bring that back to a neutral spine. Let's just tuck those left toes. So you lengthen the left leg away, tuck the left toes, push into the left heel. Really push that left heel towards the back short edge of the mat until you feel a nice deep stretch down the back of that left leg. Now inhaling, drawing the left knee in, let's touch it onto the forehead. Exhale, let's lengthen that away. Inhale, knee to nose, arch the spine, separate the shoulder blades. Exhaling, releasing out. Inhale, draw that all the way in. Now as we exhale, release out, we're going to hold it here. Flex out through the left foot, left toe pointing down. Perhaps release the right hand. Use the core for strength. Activate the pelvic floor. Or perhaps you bring the hand and foot back to knee. Push the hand and foot together. Gaze towards the short edge of the mat. Stretching out through the front of that left thigh. Now slowly releasing that all the way back down. Replant the right hand onto the mat, release the left knee. Let's start to walk the hands forward. So you're going to draw the hands to shoulder width apart. Lift the tailbone up towards the sky. Melt the heart down towards the mat. Just stretch out through the fronts of the shoulders. Lift the sit bones up, stacking the hips over the knees. Feel it into the tops of the shoulders. You inch the fingers forward. Try not to release the elbows onto the mat. Just allow the heart to melt down. Perhaps you're resting the forehead, or perhaps you can get your chest all the way down to the mat. Just walk the hands out a little bit further and perhaps play with the parameters. So perhaps you can walk the hands out wider and you get a deeper stretch. Or perhaps you start to walk the hands a little bit close to the mat width apart and you prefer to hold the posture there. Now slowly start to draw the hands back. Let's meet back into our tabletop. So spreading the fingers wide, let's turn the inner elbows to face the short edge of the mat. Draw the chest forward. And then slowly draw the elbows into the side ribs. And let's lower the torso all the way down to the mat. Lengthening the legs away. Releasing the hands, touching them onto the outside edges of the legs. Draw the toes together, heels roll out. The gaze is towards the floor or your mat. So engaging the muscles that run down the spine. Let's start to inhale, lift the head and shoulders, lift the feet. See if you can draw the thighs off the mat. So you're strengthening out through the muscles, you're shortening them by lifting the head and shoulders up and releasing the feet up. Make sure that you're still breathing. And then slowly release that back down. Okay, so option to take that locust pose again. Or option to deepen the pose. So you're going to start to bend in the legs. So if you've got particularly tight quads, you might find this one tricky. You're going to bring the hands towards the ankles, grab hold of the ankle. The gaze is still down. But this time as we inhale, lift, push the hand and feet into each other. Lift the chest, lift the thighs off the mat. So you feel a stretch down the quads, a stretch down the abdomen, strengthening out through the back muscles. And the gaze is now forward. Make sure that you're still breathing. Lifting up as high as your back will allow. And then slowly let's start to release that all the way back down. Bringing the hands in front of you now, stacking the elbows under the shoulders. Down through the hands, let's just inhale, lift that up and meet into a Sphinx pose. So we're just having a gentle back bend here, but we're stretching out through the abdomen. Perhaps you stay here, or perhaps you start to straighten out through the arms and bring yourself into your full seal pose. You're mobilizing through the spine, stretching out through the front of the body. Let's gaze up towards the ceiling. If you feel a pinch into the lumbar back, you've probably gone too far. And let's slowly start to release the elbows down to the mat. Bring the hands underneath the shoulders, spreading the fingers wide. Just engage the core, suck the belly off the mat, draw in towards the lower spine. Let's start to push out your hands and meet ourselves all the way back into our tabletop. Now releasing the bottom back towards the heels, let's just arch the spine up towards the sky. With an intention to the back. Gently walking the hands forward. Walking the hands back towards the knees. Let's push into both knees and slowly draw that all the way up to kneelings. So bringing the hands up, let's push out through the fingertips. As you exhale, let's hinge that forward, planting the hands down. Inhaling, gazing forward, dip the spine down, tip the tailbone up. Let's exhale, round the spine, tuck the head, draw the bottom back towards the heels. So this is kneeling sun salutation. Inhaling, drawing that all the way up. Exhaling, hinging down. Inhale, look up and lengthen. Exhale, round the spine, and tuck the head and draw that all the way back into your child's pose. So this time as we inhale, draw that all the way up. Let's just exhale, bring the hands into heart center. Just look down at the knees, make sure the knees are separated out, hip distance apart. We're going to make a nice hinge from the knees. So you're strengthening out through the quadriceps. So inhalation, lift the chest up towards the sky. And as you exhale, hinge from the knees and drop that back. Inhale, engaging the quads, draw that all the way back to kneeling. Careful, don't bring it back too far. Exhale, release that back. So you feel it into the front of the legs. That's it, perfect. Inhale, draw that up. Exhale, release back. Perfect. Inhale, draw that all the way up. This time as you exhale, you can either release the bottom back towards the heels, or perhaps you can release the hands back. See if you can TP the hands onto the mat behind you. Lift the hips up towards the sky. Open the heart upwards. Perhaps if the neck's okay, allow the head to drop. And you really stretch out through the front of the quads, through the hamstrings. And then gently releasing the bottom down towards the heels. Let's just inhale, sweep the arms up. Interlacing the fingers, let's turn the palms away. Again, lifting and lengthening. Perhaps you draw the body up, tuck the toes and sit onto the heels. Just taking a toe tuck here, that's optional. Just take a gentle twist over the right shoulder. Exhale, push out through the palms, draw the gaze forward. Inhale, take the gaze over the left shoulder. Exhaling center. Releasing the hands down to shoulder height. Let's just round through the spine and tuck the head. So it's always nice to counter pose when you've taken a back bend. Drawing that slowly back through center. Let's just clamp the hands down onto the mat, release the toes. As you release the hands behind us, let's interlace the fingers, draw the shoulder blades towards each other, open up through the front of the chest. And as you exhale, perhaps you release the chest onto the thighs, or perhaps you release the crown of the head down onto the mat. Stack the hips over the knees, release the arms, really stretch out through the front of the shoulders. Now slowly releasing the bottom back towards the heels for those of you released on the crown of the head. Let's start to draw the torso all the way back to seated. Releasing the hands from behind you, fingers now facing the bottom. Let's see if we can stretch out through the front of the ankles by lifting the knees off the mat. You want to be able to stretch at the front of the feet. That's it, nice. Perhaps you stay here, or perhaps you can release down onto the elbows and deepen the stretch that way. For some of you, you might find you can only lift the knees a few inches off the mat. It largely does depend on what footwear your feet are used to. So if you're used to trainers all the time, then your knees will not lift off the mat that far. Okay, so now let's slowly start to draw this all the way back. Let's release the hands forward, clamp the hands down onto the mat. Again, separating the knees out, mat width apart. Let's just tuck the toes, engage through the core. We're going to lift the knees about a couple of inches off the mat. Just pushing out through the shoulders. Make sure the shoulders are stacked over the wrists. Keep the core activated. Draw the navel into the spine. So perhaps you stay here just hovering off the mat. Or perhaps you start to dip the hips over towards the right. Make sure the knees don't lift up too far. Just feel it in the outside edge of that right hip. Both arms activated. Draw that all the way back through center. Let's just dip that over towards the left so you feel it in the outside edge of the left hip. Drawing that slowly back to center. Now you're going to draw the chest back towards the thighs and then very slowly start to straighten out through the legs. So just taking a gentle pedal out here, just release one heel and then the other towards the mat. Just gently perhaps have a sway side to side. This is a really good opportunity for you to stretch out through your calf muscles. So perhaps you bend one knee, really try and release the other heel down towards the mat and then swap it to the other side. Slowly releasing back into our downward facing dog. Just lengthen out through the arms to draw the inner elbows to face each other. Inhaling, gazing forward. Let's draw ourselves up to the head of the mat and just take a small forward fold here. Inhaling, lift and lengthen that all the way up to the sky. Exhaling, releasing hands into heart center. Okay, let's just take some Surya Namaskara eggs to warm up. Inhaling, length. Exhaling, we hinge to the hips and fold that forward. Inhaling, gaze ahead, nice flat back. To exhale, plant the hands down. Let's release the legs back and let's move into a high plank. Draw up onto your toes, push out through the heel, keep the core activated, shoulders over the wrists. Now just releasing the knees down to the mat, keeping the toes tucked. Let's lower the chest and chin. Inhaling, drawing the body forward, let's draw us all the way into either keeping the elbows bent into cobra, or perhaps you bring yourself into an up dog, resting onto the tops of the feet. And releasing the knees back down, retuck the toes, let's draw ourselves all the way back into a downward facing dog. Release the feet out, mat width apart. Outside edges of the feet on the outside edges of the mat. Let's gradually start to walk the hands back. So as you walk the hands back, you're going to grab alternate elbows, allow the head to hang heavy. Just lift the sit bones up towards the sky. You should feel it onto the inner thighs, releasing the tailbone up. Just use the weight of the upper body. Try not to round through the spine, so just allow the body to hang heavy.
stack the ankles, knees and hips in one nice long straight line. As you release the tension into the legs, perhaps you just want to have a gentle twist over to the right. So start to roll those arms over towards the right thigh. Just feel the dynamic of the stretch change into the muscles in the leg. And then gently drawing that back to center, let's roll that over to the left. Slowly drawing that back to center, now let's just release the hands. Walking the hands forward, let's draw them back at shoulder height and walk the feet back to hip distance apart. Inhaling, gazing forward, bend the knees, make your way all the way up to the head of the mat. Exhale, folding back. Inhale, drawing that all the way up to standing. Exhaling, releasing the hands into heart center. Okay, inhaling, lengthen. Let's exhale, swan dive forward. Inhale, gazing ahead. As we exhale, clamp the hands down, let's step back and meet into a high plank. So again, engage the core, so the navel into the spine, shoulders stacked over the wrists, fingers spread wide on the mat. You've always got the option to lower to knees, or draw the inner elbows really to face the short edge of the mat. Let's draw the elbows into the side ribs. Shoulders are now stacked over the fingertips. Rolling forward onto the toes into an up dog. Stretch out. Perhaps you take the gaze up towards the ceiling. You rest onto the tops of the feet. The thighs are lifted off the mat. Then reconnecting the toes with the mat. Start to roll over the toes. Push back through the heels and draw yourself all the way back to a downward facing dog. The feet are hip distance apart. This time walking the hands back up the mat. Let's lift the sit bones up towards the sky. And as you exhale, release the crown of the head down again, releasing the hands onto the elbows. Use the body weight just to lengthen out through the hamstrings. Inhaling, lengthen the sit bones upwards. Exhale, releasing the head down. Really stretching out through the muscles in the back. Use the weight of the head. Now drawing the gaze back forward, release the hands, let's slowly start to walk the hands forward. Hands are shoulder width apart. Inhale, knees step all the way up to the head of the mat. And exhale, take a fold. Inhale, draw that all the way up to standing. Exhaling, releasing hands into heart center. Inhaling, let's lengthen. Exhale, swan dive down. Inhale, gazing forward. Exhale, make your way back to a high plank. Core is strong. Pelvic floor is activated. Option to lower to knees or take your chaturanga. Draw it into an up dog. Really make every move matter. Exhale, draw that back into a downward facing dog. Okay, just opening up through the right hip. So inhale and lift that right leg up to the sky. You're going to bend that right knee, so you're drawing the right heel round towards the side of the bottom. Stack the right hip on top of the left, gaze underneath that right arm. Now slowly drawing the right leg into the chest, let's hover it forward and plant it at the head of the mat. Releasing the left knee, untuck the left toes, let's inhale, sweep that all the way up into an Anjali Asana. Sink down into the hips. Let's drop the right hand behind the back. So you're either going to grab hold of the right elbow, or perhaps you bring both hands to meet behind the back. Gaze up towards the sky, stretch out through the right tricep. Now slowly releasing the hands. Let's just plant them down onto the mat. Let's hinge the hips back. Straighten out through the right leg. Gaze into the short edge of the mat. Square the pelvis. And then exhale, fold down over that right thigh. So you start to lengthen out through that right hamstring. Perhaps you keep the toes pointed, or perhaps you prefer to draw the toes back towards the face. Keep length into the spine, keep the gaze towards the shin. Try not to gaze down at the knee. Now releasing the chest up halfway. Repoint the toes.
Pressing down through both hands. Let's see if we can lift that right leg off the mat, retract the shoulders. Keep the core activated. Releasing the right foot down. As we hinge forward back into our Anjalasana, let's sink the hips down nice and low. Keep the hands onto the mat. Let's start to walk that right foot to the outside edge of the mat. So the right toes are onto the floor, the heels onto the mat. Inhale, gaze forward. Exhale, sink down. Perhaps you sink down just into the hands, or perhaps you release down onto the elbows. So you're stretching out through the left hip flexor, stretching into the outside edge of that right hip, particularly if you start to roll onto the outside edge of that right foot. Take a couple of breaths here. And slowly releasing the hands back onto the mat as you release the hands down, the elbows down. Let's start to hinge the hips back. So you're going to keep that right leg where it is. So just feel the stretch move around the inside of that right thigh. Perhaps you point the toes, or again, perhaps you draw the toes back towards the torso. Again, keeping the hands down on the mat. Let's see if we can lift that right leg up, engaging the hip flexors. Exhaling, releasing down. This time, tracking that right leg all the way forward. Let's sink down into a nice long lunge. Allow the hips to sink. Look up through the back toes. Let's lift up through the back knee. The knee into a runner's lunge. Sinking the hips down, stretching out through the left hip flexor. Right knee stacked over the right heel. And then hinging back now. Let's start to straighten out through the right leg. Draw the right toes back towards the face. And take that into a hamstring stretch on the right hand side. And inhaling, gazing forward, bend through that right knee. As you exhale, see if you can draw the hips back, straighten out through the right leg. This time as we inhale, hinge forward, knee back into your runner's lunge, plant the hands down onto the mat. Let's draw that right heel up, over it here, engage the core. And then slowly drawing that all the way back into your high plank. Option for chaturanga or knees, chest, chin. Inhaling into an up dog. Exhaling, releasing that back and meeting into a downward facing dog. Okay, inhaling the left leg up to the sky. We're going to bend that left knee. Stack the left hip over the right. Bring the heel round towards the bottom. Take the gaze underneath that left arm so you feel it opening up into the hip. And slowly drawing that left knee forward. So as you draw the left knee forward, stack the shoulders over the wrists. And then plant the left foot at the head of the mat. Releasing the right knee, release the right toes. Let's inhale, sweep that all the way up into an Anjalasana. So sinking down into that right hip, that's nice. Perfect. Now dropping the left hand behind, perhaps you grab hold of the left elbow, or perhaps you bring the palms back to meet. Take the gaze up, open the heart up towards the sky. Sink down into that right hip flexor. Now slowly releasing the hands. Let's just plant them down onto the mat. Hinge the hips back. Straighten out through that left leg. So you're coming into your half split. Inhaling, gazing forward. Exhaling, folding down. Perhaps you keep the toes down, perhaps you raise those left toes up towards the face. So as you raise the toes up, do you feel the stretch deepen? And then think about drawing the left thigh going inside of the hip and draw that right hip forward just to deepen the stretch even further. Now bringing the gaze back to center. Let's just start to re-bend that left leg. Let's bring the hands on the inside of that left foot. Start to walk the left foot to the outside edge of the mat. Heel onto the mat, toes onto the floor. Sink the hips down. So you feel a stretch into the right hip flexor predominantly. But then you should also feel something in the outside edge of that left hip. Perhaps you can deepen that further by rolling onto the outside edge of that left foot. Perhaps you even release down onto your elbow. Just take the variation that suits you. Listen to your body.
Try not to be tempted to take the deepest variation first. Okay, so for those of you perhaps release down the elbows, let's start to engage the hands onto the mat. Let's walk the hands back, leave that left foot where it is. So we're changing the dynamic of the stretch. Pointing out through the left toes. We'll lower the chest down, really feel it into the inside edge of that left thigh. Now slowly bringing the gaze back. Let's press down through both hands, see if you can lift that left leg off the mat. Exhale, release that down. Let's walk those left toes forward, now taking the left hand on the outside of that left foot. Rounding down through both hands. I haven't messed up, I've forgotten this one, so I'm just going to do it now. Let's see if you can lift up through the left leg, point the left toes, keep the core activated, use those hip flexors. Exhale, releasing that down. Now releasing the hips forward, let's start to sink this down into a deep lunge. Let's tuck up through the right toes, lift up through the back knee, push out through the back hips, activating the right quad, but sinking the hips down deep. Inhaling, gazing forward. As we exhale, see if you can straighten out through that left leg, draw the chest towards the left thigh. Again, rebending the left knee, let's inhale, gaze forward, sink the hips down. Exhaling, straighten out through that left leg, left toes back towards the face, take it into a hamstring stretch. Inhaling, gazing forward, dip the hips down. Exhaling, re-stretch, stretching out through the left hamstring. Now bringing the gaze back, let's start to re-bend through that left leg. Planting the hands down, let's move that all the way back into a high plank. Lowering down to chaturanga, draw that into an up dog. Let's exhale, release that back and meet into a downward facing dog. Inhaling, gazing forward, let's bend the knees, make our way all the way up to the head of the mat. So as you make your way up to the head of the mat, let's just rest the chest onto the thighs. We're going to see if we can release the palm of the hand underneath the feet. So you join the toes towards the wrist creases, the feet are about hip distance apart. Inhale, gaze towards the toes. And then as you exhale, just see if you can straighten out through the legs. We're going to try and keep the chest connected with the thighs. Stack the ankles, knees and hips in one nice long straight line. Really feel the body weight move towards the wrists as you hinge forward and lift those sit bones up a little higher. As you're exhaling, releasing the elbows out to the side, draw the crown of the head down towards the mat and draw the shoulder blades up towards the waist. Just take a few breaths here, just deepening your hamstring stretch. Slowly bringing the gaze back forward, let's just bend the knees, let's just release the hands and place them onto the hips. Pushing out through both feet, let's draw that all the way up to standing. Perfect, we feel like a little shake if you want to. Let's inhale, sweep the arms up. We exhale, let's just hinge that forward. Inhale, look up and lengthen. As we exhale, plant the hands down. We're going to take the left leg back. We're going to plant the left foot down. Start to lift the torso all the way up. Drawing the right toes in, left toes in. So let's meet in a wide angle. So you're going to make sure you're on the wide edge of your mat. Toes are in, heels are out, legs are activated. So draw up through the quads, bring the hands onto the hips, inhaling, gazing up towards the sky. And as we exhale, keep the legs stretched. So start to push the tailbone to the wall or person behind you. Push it out through the crown of the head. Keep the core activated, legs are strong. Okay, so it's sometimes better to hold it here. If you really feel it on the inner thighs, you feel it on the back of the hamstrings, stay here. If you're folding forward further, start to release the hands down, but the hands need to go in between the feet. So if you bring your hands too far forward, you start to get a rounding into the spine. So we're trying to lengthen out through the upper body as well. And you're trying to release the crown of the head down. As the sit bones go up towards the ceiling, think of one nice vertical line that goes from the crown of the head up towards the sit bones.
That's right. If you're halfway lowered and you feel it deep into the thighs, and that's sufficient for you tonight, stay here. Think about lengthening the spine, lengthening the muscles in the back, but really activating the legs. Take the variation that suits you. Now slowly start to bring the gaze back to center. If you folded forward, bring the hands back onto the hips. For all of us, let's start to draw the torso all the way up to standing, and then turn to face the front foot. Let's walk that left leg back to meet the right. Inhaling, sweeping the arms up towards the sky. As we exhale, bring the hands into heart center. Bring the ankles together, knees together, and toes together. Let's start to sit the bottom down into our chair pose. So try and take the gaze down, see if you can see the toes. The legs are activated, tailbone tucked under. Shortening the gap between the pubic bone and the lower ribs. We're going to see if we can meet this into an Navasana or boat. So you're going to slowly, with grace, release the bottom down to the mat. Release the legs out in front of you and meet into your Navasana, or make it there any which way you want to. Perhaps you keep the legs bent, or perhaps you straighten out through the legs, so resting onto the sit bones, keeping the core activated. Perfect. Now keeping the hands down onto the mat either side of the legs. Let's just slowly lower the legs all the way down to the mat, keep control. As you start to lower them down a little bit further, roll forward with the sit bones. As the heels reach the mat, start to flex out through the feet. Draw the toes back towards the face. Inhaling, lift and lengthen all the way up to the sky. So just think back of the body as well. So as you hinge forward, gaze beyond the toes, hinge from the hips, and then draw and TP the hands down on the mat. So perhaps the hands are just here, perhaps you feel the chest is way off the thighs, it doesn't really matter. Keep length into that spine, and then just gradually start to walk the hands forward. So the further forward you walk the hands, start to think about drawing the thigh bones inside of the hip sockets, releasing those sit bones back and away, and then naturally your chest will start to draw towards your thighs. You want to make sure you can feel it into the backs of the legs. The toes are flexed, the quadriceps are activated. You're just freeing up the hamstrings and allowing them to stretch. For those of you working deeper into that asana, just see if you can really lengthen out through the crown of the head, lengthen out through the spine, stretch out through the muscles that run down the back of the body. And just take your fold as forward fold. The main ambition of this fold is to draw the chest towards the thighs, the sternum towards the knee, and lastly the chin towards the shin. You're not looking to plump the crown of the head down onto your knees. Now slowly inhaling, gazing forward, let's start to TP the hands back up. We're just going to engage through the core, press down through the fingertips and meet that back into our Navasana. The toes are pointed, keep the core strong. Leaving the hands down the mat, perhaps separate the hands now to mat width apart and start to release the legs out to around mat width apart. Now slowly lowering the legs down so the mat, roll forward of the sit bones. As soon as the heels touch the mat, draw the toes back towards the face, roll forward with the sit bones. Inhaling, lengthening the arms up towards the sky. Exhaling, keeping the hands in between the legs. Inhaling, gazing forward. Exhaling, releasing, drawing the chest down. So again, just walk the hands forward. Just feel the dynamic of the stretch. Move around the legs. Flex out through the feet, keep length in the upper body. Draw the sit bones back and away. Activating the quads, keep the legs strong, keep the torso central, equal weight between both sitting bones. Okay, slowly start to draw the hands back, just leaving the hands in between the legs, pressing down through the fingertips. Let's inhale, lift the legs up. And then we're going to exhale, widen them a little bit further. Perhaps you can release the hands in between the legs, palms facing each other, flex out through the feet. Pray nobody comes into your lounge at this very moment in time. And then lowering the fingertips down to the mat. Let's just gently roll forward with the sit bones with grace, not down too quickly. Lower the heels down to the mat. As you lower the heels down to the mat, flex out through the feet. Draw the sit bones. You may want to lift the arms up towards the sky. And as you exhale, again, TP the hands forward. So where the gaze goes, the body will follow. So try and gaze ahead where you'd like your chest to go. And then just gradually walk those fingertips away and down the mat, releasing, lengthening out through the arms. So your first point of contact towards the mat should perhaps be the belly or the chest, the sternum and then the chin. Keep the feet activated. Draw the toes back towards the torso. Activate the quads. And now gently start to TP the hands back. Let's just bring the hands underneath the knees. Let's draw the knees back into the chest. And perhaps slowly start to roll that out onto the mat. So a really nice stretch for the front of the body is just to ground down through the feet. Spreading the feet out, hip distance apart, heels near to the bottom. Press down through the palms of the hands and let's meet that into our bridge. So you're lifting the hips up as high as possible, engage the glutes, take the body weight into the heels. See if you can make one nice long straight line that goes from the knees all the way down to the shoulders. So perhaps you're quite happy here with the hands planted down on the mat, or perhaps for an even deeper stretch, you want to release the hands overhead with the palms facing up. It really gives you the opportunity to ground the shoulders down into the mat, open up through the front of the chest, engage the glutes and perhaps lift the hips up a little higher. Bring the gaze up towards the ceiling, or perhaps now you start to close the eyes. Just holding it out here. Now for those of you with the arms released overhead, let's gently start to bring the arms all the way back in. Planting the hands down on the mat. Just very slowly wheel one vertebrae at a time down onto the mat. Releasing the tailbone down last. Releasing and lengthening the legs away. Just flex out through the feet. Draw the toes back towards the face. And then release the hands overhead. As you release the hands overhead, just interlace the fingers. Push the palms away. Push the heels away. Stretch out through the whole body. Slowly release the hands, release the legs. Let's just draw the knees into the chest, wrap the arms around the legs. Just release the spine down into the mat. Just have a little gentle rock here onto the lumbar spine. So let's gently lower the legs over towards the left. Let's just practice the arms out to the side. Just take a gentle release into the back. Gaze back over that right shoulder. Allow the right shoulder blade just to roll down towards the mat. Gently bring the gaze back. Let's draw the knees back up. And then let's just lower the legs over to the right and gaze over the left shoulder. Gently draw the knees back to center. Again, if it feels nice, just really round down through the spine. Perhaps you draw the knees back into the chest. And then lastly, let's release the feet out, mat width apart. Just allow the toes to roll out, the knees and ankles to roll out. And bring the palms down by the side of you. So the purpose of your Shavasana or resting pose is just to tie and release and relax tension into the body. Just making time for yourself. Just gently release everything down. Gently take note of all the sensations in the body. Just enjoy the energy that your practice creates. Slowly start to bring a little bit of movement back in. Perhaps you just gently roll out through the ankles. Start to move through the feet. Just gently draw the legs back towards each other. Just stretch out through the hands, so really spread the fingers wide. And then making fists with the hands, let's just roll out through the wrists. Again, just gently walking the feet up the mat. As you walk the feet up, really push the heels in, draw the lumbar spine down, and draw the knees into the chest. So perhaps you like to rock side to side, or perhaps you like to rock forward and back, or just make circles. Just take whatever movement works for you. And then predominantly we taught just to roll over towards the right if you have high blood pressure, if you have normal blood pressure, or the left if you have low blood pressure. But just take whichever side that suits you. Gently draw onto the side of the body and then push out through the top hand and draw yourself all the way up into seated. So just starting or finishing where we started, draw the feet in. Let's just meet into a comfortable seated position. Just bring your hands into heart center. As always, give yourself gratitude for your practice. Delight in every movement that your body takes. Count yourself lucky that we are able to do so much. And also that we're able to practice together every Sunday. Thank you very much for letting me guide you. I'm now at the end of my dry January, so I'm now going to have a large glass of red wine. So I wish you a very happy Sunday evening. Namaste.